Good evening all. I am Dr. Subodh Chaturvedi. I work in SAMES Medical College and Mohawk Hospital, Indore. First of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee, especially the organizing secretary, to give me this chance to speak among you people. The topic is one of my favorite. It is ECG for exams. And in next like half an hour, I'll teach you how to read an ECG completely. Now you thought that correct, right? But no. Actually, it is impossible to teach ECG in 1 hour, in 10 hours, in 100 hours. ECG is a constant learning process. All we are trying to do here is to make you capable of getting through the exam, just that, nothing more than that. So, let's get through a disclaimer first. I can't teach ECG in 1 hour. If you want to really go into the depth of ECGs, there is another course of ECG in this app only. It is called as ECG for anesthesiologists. Just log into that and listen for 3-4 hours. Secondly, I want this lecture to be interactive. I want you to keep typing in the chat box. I'll wait for 20-30 seconds between the questions so that you can type your answers in the chat box. This will help me to understand if you are catching it, and it will help you to interact. So keep typing in the chat box. Lastly, this is just a last moment effort to pass the examination. I am not teaching you complete ECG. I am not teaching you 20% of it. But then all the ECGs in the exam are kept in a certain format, and if you go through this lecture carefully, maybe one or two times, you will be able to crack at least that much that you will pass your exam. Lastly, whatever I'm going to teach you is only 80% accurate. There will always be exceptions, like if I say ki fast, narrow, regular is SVT. Now it could be AVRT, it could be AVNRT, it could be junctional tachycardia, but for the practical purposes, for the exam purposes, even if you remember that it is SVT, it will work, it will clear you. This lecture is not meant for the toppers or the Funsuk Bangdus. This lecture is meant for the lesser mortals like I was, like you are. In our days, ECG lecture or ECG practical preparation was 3 minutes job. जिस पे चाय डली है वो एट्रियल फिब्रिलेशन है, जो साइड से फटा हुआ है दैट इज वेंट्रिकुलर टेकिकार्डिया. यू जस्ट हैव टू रिमेंबर कि जो ग्रीन वाला है वो एट्रियल फ्लटर है, बोल के आ जाना. बट नाउ after the invention of OSCEs and DNB exams and online exams, you need to learn a little more. So instead of 3 minutes, we'll spend like 30 minutes on this topic. Now, this ECG lecture is not meant for treating a patient. This is only meant for treating your examiner. So as they say in chess, don't play the game, play the man. What does the man want? What does an examiner want? Let's look into his brain and see what do they want out of a ECG practical viva. The examiner wants you to know only 3 things. They are very sharp, they are very intelligent, they have worked like 30-35 years in the field. So they know how to judge a person. The 3 things they want to know are, firstly, are you going to kill a patient because you are stupid? If you could not recognize a deadly rhythm, you could not recognize a VT or VF, or you could not treat a VT, VF in OT, then you don't deserve to pass, and I completely agree with them. So I'll tell you how to read that. The first thing they want to know is, can you kill a patient on table by not recognizing something really serious? Secondly, they want you to know that can you cancel a case, or can you postpone a case, or can you get a case properly investigated just because it is showing some ECG changes? That will also save your life and your patient's life. So first thing they want to know that will you kill a patient? Second thing they want to know if you know which patient to postpone, or if you know which patient to investigate further into the cardiac realms. Thirdly, if you clear those 2 stages, then they want to know, do you really deserve a gold medal in anesthesia? Then they will put up things like WPW and Brugada and Jogren and whatever. So, I will also teach you ECG in the same pattern, step by step. We'll read the ECG, we'll learn the ECG in those 3 steps only. First one will be survival, second will be thriving, and third one will be gold medal steps. So whenever a ECG is put to you in an exam, you have to analyze it in 3 steps. First one is rate and rhythm, second one is ST segment, and third one is gold medal. That means if there is something really grossly different in this ECG. So first of all, into rate and rhythm. One more thing. When an ECG is put in front of you, most of you already know what the diagnosis is. You have seen the bunch of ECGs which is kept for exams. But then again, examiner is an external. At least do some acting. Read it. Sir, this looks like tachycardia. Sir, this is severe tachycardia. Sir, this is very severe tachycardia. आगे बोल भाई. Okay. Sir, this is fast, narrow complex, and tachycardia. This looks like supraventricular tachycardia to me. Don't ever just jump to, sir, this is SVT, because then next 40 minutes will be about management of SVT. So take your time in diagnosing it, even if you know it before. Right. So 3 things: rate rhythm, ST segment, and gold medal. In rate and rhythm, I'll spend the most of the time. There are 3 things to look in rate and rhythm. What 3 things? First is it fast? Is it slow? Second is it broad? Is it narrow? Is it regular? Is it irregular? What is fast, slow? Is the rate fast or slow? Is the QRS broad or narrow? Is the rhythm regular or irregular? Easy. Let's say fast and slow is decided by the RR interval. If the QRS complexes are clumped together, if they are very near to each other, then it is fast. If they are far apart from each other with a lot of gap, like 5-6 boxes between them, then it is a slow rhythm or slow rate. If the QRS complexes are very thin, then they are narrow. If they are a little fat from the waist, then they are broad. If the QRS complexes are occurring at a regular interval, then they are regular. If they are not occurring at a regular interval, then they are irregular. Again, I'm not talking about the distances and 0.12 and 0.20. I'm just trying to make you jump through this exam, then we'll read ECG afterwards. So, fast and slow, broad and narrow, regular and irregular. Now be ready with your chat box. I'll put up an ECG and you have to write that if ECG number 1 is fast or slow. Easy. So this is ECG number 1. You have to just write 1 dash fast or 1 dash slow or 1 dash normal. I haven't told you anything that 5 boxes is normal and 3 boxes is normal and beyond 5 is slow and less than 3 is fast. Just have an eyeball assessment and see if it is fast or if it is slow. Write down, write in the chat box, 1 is fast or slow. Write down, write down, write down. Yes, yes, yes. Start. Write down, I'll keep waiting. So 1 is slow. 2 is, look closely, look closely. There is hardly a too big a square gap. Rate is approximately 150. Is it fast? Is it slow? 2 is, write down, write down. 2 is fast. Good. Then third one. Again, there is only 1 square gap, 1 big square gap between the QRS complexes. 3 is fast or slow? Write down, write down. Now you know, now you know. Write down. 3 is what? 3 is what? 3 is fast. Then 4. Again, QRS are wide apart. I am not asking you to diagnose if it is a 3rd degree heart block or whatever. No, no, no. Just write, is it fast or is it slow? This is for the lesser mortals. This is for the people who are struggling to conquer the ECG in exam only. So 4 is slow. 5 is slow. 6 is what? 6 is what? Again, write down, write down, write down. 6 is what? 6 is slow. 7 is what? 7 is what? 7 is fast. So now you know. Now you know. Now I'll put a tricky one. What is 8? I'll wait for your answers. What is 8? 8 is nothing but sadism. It is a known perversion. Why would an examiner put a normal ECG in front of a student and ask, diagnose karo? It happened with me once. A surgeon gave me an ECG. Subodh, इसमें क्या है? I thought, अच्छा परीक्षा ले रहे हो मेरी. I saw it very deeply. I said, sir, it is either benign early repolarization or there is a faint chance that the person might be having severe LAD disease. So both I had done my own ECG. I just wanted to show you if everything is all right. Happens. So if the QRS gap is between 3 to 5 boxes, it is normal rate. So once we pick up an ECG, we see this is fast or this is slow. We go into a direction, this is tachycardia or this is bradycardia. Now we know this is fast or this is slow. Now we'll see if the QRS is broad or QRS is narrow. I'll tell you why I'm teaching all this. So now we'll see if the QRS is broad at waist or if it is narrow at waist. Is it fast? Is it broad? Is it narrow? So number 1 is narrow QRS complex, you can see that. Number 2 is broad QRS complex, again you can see that. There is nothing much to know. Again, I'm not teaching you how to measure the length of QRS, if it is 0.12 or not. No, I'm not going there. Let's directly jump to the questions again. Be with me on chat box. Number 3 is what? Broad or narrow? Write down. Preferably see in lead 2, and in whichever lead the QRS is broadest, see. Number 3 is broad or narrow? Number 3 is broad. Then number 4 is broad or narrow? Write down. Number 4. 4 is what? Broad or narrow? 4 is broad. 5 is what? Again, it is very difficult to see the proper QRSs in this, but still, if you ask me if it is broad or narrow, I'll write down it is broad QRS. So 5 is broad. 6 is what? Look at the QRS complex. It is narrow. 6 is narrow. 7 is what? 7 is again narrow QRS. So again, without any measurement, just by looking at it, we can see if the rate is fast or slow or normal. And we can see if the QRS is broad or narrow. Third thing we will see for rate and rhythm is if it is regular or irregular. How do we see that? Again, there is no measurement. You have to just eyeball it. You have to see. Is it regular or irregular? A is what? Regular or irregular? Write down. Does it look regular to you? Doesn't look to me. A is what? Irregular. There are some QRS complexes clumped together, some are far apart. So A is irregular. B is what? Is it regular or irregular? Looks fairly regular to me. B is what? B is regular. Let's go with regular. C is what? ध्यान से देखना. C is what? Look closely. C is what? If you are missing it, then I'll point for you. C is irregular. So now we know how to look for speed, broadness and regularity. C is irregular. We can also say that C is fast, narrow and irregular. D is what? D is regular or irregular? Last question here. Write down. I'll wait. Write down. D is regular or irregular? Don't write any diagnosis. Just write. Is it regular or irregular? D is irregular. Good. So now we know it is either fast or slow. It is either broad or narrow, it is either regular or irregular. Now with these 3 things, multiplied by 3 things, we can make 9 combos, but in practicality, we will make only 6 combos. What ways? Your ECG strip can be either fast, broad and irregular, or it can be fast, broad and regular, or it can be fast, narrow, regular, or it can be fast, narrow, irregular. In slow, it doesn't matter if it is broad or narrow, it is just slow and regular, slow and irregular. For the exam purposes, this will just do, right? So we'll jump on each and every type of ECG and try to diagnose it. Just keep this in mind. You have to diagnose each ECG in this pattern. If it is fast or slow, broad or narrow, regular or irregular. Write down. This is your first test ECG. This is ECG A, let's say. Now you have to write down A dash, fast or slow, whatever, regular or irregular, narrow or broad. So just write that A is, let's say, F, B and R. Fast, broad, regular. A is F, B, R. You can see it is fast, only one gap, only one box gap. You can see it is broad, obviously. You can see it is regular, it is fairly regular. So fast, broad, regular. A is ventricular tachycardia. So the rhythm which is fast, broad and regular, it is VTach. If you cannot recognize a VTach in your exam, you really don't deserve to pass. I agree to that. So don't miss it. Even if you diagnose a SVT with aberrant conduction with broad QRS as a VTach, I don't mind. But don't let a VT ECG go in and misdiagnosed. Right. Now, let's say you were put an ECG of this broad, regular and tachycardia. The next question which will pop up will, what will you do with this? So you have to know. If you get a VTach rhythm, you have to do, first thing is to check the pulse. You check the pulse. If it is a pulseless VT, you have to give it a 200 joules shock. 200 or whatever is the maximum in your machine. If it is a VT with a pulse, if it is a stable ventricular tachycardia, then you will go for your drugs. Then you can talk about amiodarone and Zylocard and their dosage and everything, and no adenosine. So if you get an ECG of VT and examiner asks what will you do, then you will check the pulse. If it is a stable VT, you will go preferably for medication. If it is an unstable VT, what is unstable? Unstable means if it is causing shock, if it is causing hypotension, if it is causing unconsciousness, then it is unstable VT. So stable VT has to be treated by drugs, unstable VT has to be treated by shock. Again, next. Now again write down, this is ECG B. This is ECG exhibit B. You have to write down if it is fast or slow, if it is broad or narrow, if it is regular or irregular. Look at it closely, take your time and write down if it is fast or slow, broad or narrow, regular or irregular. I know the diagnosis, you know the diagnosis. Let's go through the journey. So this one is fast, broad, irregular, and it is ventricular fibrillation. Again, this is an ECG which you cannot miss in an exam and in your real life. If you miss it, the patient is dead. As such, in VF, patient is already dead. So fast, broad, irregular is ventricular fibrillation. Don't miss it. You can misdiagnose SVT as anything, but don't miss ventricular fibrillation or ventricular tachycardia. Now, if someone asks you, what will you do if you have this rhythm on your monitor in your OT? First thing you will check is if the patient has a pulse or if the leads are intact, because this might happen. This has happened in ROT itself. If you look at this monitor closely, it looks like ventricular fibrillation, but if you look at very closely, the SpO2 is going very nicely at 100, not the number, the tracing is very regular at 87. So this was just betadine causing the removal of lead, and ECG showing all sorts of problems. And this happened. My technician said ki, sir, please. I said, don't worry, the ECG is wrong, but the SpO2 is right. Then we just corrected the lead and it was this. So this might happen. If there is VF, first thing you will do is check the pulse, check if the patient is alive. In a VT, patient might be conscious or unconscious, but if in a VF, there is no stable VF is dead. A VF patient will be like, he will be not having a pulse, he will be dead. First thing you check, if the patient is not alive, go for shock. If the patient is does have a pulse, then you check for leads. If everything is right and still there is VF, you go for shock with the maximum joules, 200 or 360. Monophasic 360, biphasic 200. Again, whatever is maximum on your machine. Let's go further. So, broad, fast, regular VT, either pulsed or pulseless. Pulseless VT shock, pulsed VT drugs. Broad, fast, irregular VF shock. Then, what is this? ECG-C is what? Fast. Now you can do it quickly. Is it F or S? This is F. N or B? This is N. F, N, and this is fast, narrow, and regular. FNR. This is fast, narrow, regular. This is supraventricular tachycardia. Supraventricular tachycardia you will mostly find more than a rate of 180. Usually sinus does not go beyond 150, 160 in adults. 140 is approximately the limit. Beyond that it is usually SVT. The thing which you see, which appears like a P wave is mostly a mix of T and P waves. So any rhythm which is very fast, like 180 to 200, 1 box to 2 box, and narrow QRS and very regular, this is SVT, supraventricular tachycardia. How will you treat it? Again, if a patient is unstable in any goddamn tachycardia, just shock him. Don't wait for ki we'll give amiodarone in 20 minutes, by then the patient will be dead. No. Shock. Immediately shock an unstable tachycardia, even if it creates a scene in the operation theatre. But if it is a stable tachycardia, then we will talk. Then your examiner will take you to the depths of adenosine, and the first dose is 6 milligrams and the second dose is 12 milligrams. And if that doesn't work, then we will go for cardioversion, and then he will ask what is the difference between cardioversion and defibrillation, and that is beyond the scope of this lecture. But if it is fast, narrow, regular, it is SVT. If it is stable, go for drugs. First choice is adenosine. Then you can think about amiodarone, beta blockers, and a lot of things. Otherwise, if it is unstable, just shock. And don't shock with 200 joules. Start with 50, 100, 150, escalating doses. Again, next ECG. Now, diagnosis is already written, my mistake. So if you look at the lead 2 here, if you look at the lead 2 here, it will be narrow, a little fast, and irregular. The last lead, the rhythm strip, if you check, that is narrow, irregular, and fast. So if it is fast, narrow, irregular, it is atrial fibrillation. Atrial fibrillation is the most common tachycardia, is the most common arrhythmia in the ICU. A lot of people have it. Most of the times it is stable. Sometimes if it is very fast, then it becomes unstable. And an unstable atrial fibrillation again has to be shocked. So shock is related not to the diagnosis of arrhythmia, but to the stability of the patient. If it is stable, then you can think about whatever you want. You can think about your amiodarone and everything, and some newer drugs also. Let's not go there. So next rhythm. Again, it is a little tricky. It is not a tachycardia, first thing. Just look at the rhythm strip. The QRS complexes are very much far apart. It is a bradycardia. Now, first time we will write slow in the rhythm. This is a bradycardia. And a really slow bradycardia with a rate of like 30, 35, I don't know. A very slow bradycardia like in the range of 25, 30, 35 is usually complete heart block. And complete heart blocks are mostly regular. So this is slow. It can be broad, it can be narrow. If it is a junctional escape, it will be narrow, and if it is a ventricular escape, it is broad. Let's not go there. It is slow and regular. 99% chance it is a complete heart block. Just see, all the QRSs are very beautifully arranged with a specific gap. It is slow, regular, complete heart block. At the same time, if the rate is slower side, not very fast, and it is irregular, you can see that the QRS complexes are clumped. 4 are together, then there is a gap, then 4 are together, then there is a gap, then 4 are together. This is slow, broad or narrow doesn't matter, and irregular. There is a specific irregularity if you look at it closely. Then it is second degree heart block. Look at it. These clumps of QRSs. There are packs, groups of 4 QRS or 3 QRSs. This is second degree heart block. I am not deliberately jumping into Wenke back and Mobitz type 1 and type 2. If you want to really go into that, then you will see that the PR interval is gradually increasing across the 3 QRS complexes, and then 1 beat is missing. Let's not go there. Then it is type 1. Any case, both second degree heart blocks will be slow and irregular. There will be grouping of QRS complexes. If there is grouping, then it is second degree. If it is absolutely regular and very, very slow, like 25, 30, 35 ka rate, then it will be complete heart block. So all these 6 things we have learnt: fast, narrow, irregular, fast, broad, irregular, fast, narrow, regular, and all those 6 things. Just go through this lecture once again and you will remember in your exams. So if these 6 rhythms you can diagnose, you will be mostly passed in your exams. Let's go a step further. The examiner put you an ECG of VT, you diagnosed it, you treated it with 200 joule. He says, okay, he knows a little. Let's go further. He'll put up something else. He will ask you, if this patient, another ECG, the rate and rhythm are looking normal, you checked it, there is no tachycardia, no bradycardia, nothing wrong with that, regular, then maybe he is asking for some ischemia kind of setup. Now look at the ST segment. And again, the trick here is, whenever an ECG is put in front of you, you check the rate and rhythm are absolutely normal, then you go to check the ST segment. The ST segment of lead 2. Start with lead 2. Let's say this ECG. Look at lead 2. And the lead 2 has a ST segment elevation, first beat, first complex. If there is a positive ST segment in lead 2, then look at 3 and AVF. These 3 are sisters. They call it anatomically contiguous leads. Let's not go there. 2, 3 and AVF are sisters. If there is an inferior wall MI, all the 3 will have ST elevation. So first look at lead 2. If there is an ST elevation, then look at lead 3 and then look at lead AVF. And if all the 3 have ST elevations, then proudly say, sir, this is an inferior wall MI. Lead 2, 3, AVF, if they have a ST elevation, it is an inferior wall MI. Okay, you check the rate rhythm, they are all okay. You checked lead 2, 3, AVF, they are all normal. Then you look at the leads V1 to V4. Maybe they have some problem. So first step, you looked at lead 2, 3 AVF. Then you look at lead 1, 2, 3. No, lead V1, V2, V3, V4. If these leads have some kind of ST elevation, then it is most probably anterior wall MI. In exams, the ECGs that are kept, they have gross ST elevations. They don't put subtle changes, they don't put borderline changes. They want you to know broadly if you can recognize an anterior wall MI and an inferior wall MI. Maybe they will go beyond that and they will ask you what are the complications in anterior wall MI and maybe what are the complications in inferior wall MI. Inferior wall MI, it is more of conduction blocks. Anterior wall MI, it is more about LV failure and ventricular tachyarrhythmias. And then they might ask you, what will you do with this patient if you want to go for an angiography or if you want to get a cardiology call done or whatever. The Viva can go any side. First you check lead 2-3 AVF. If 2-3 AVF are normal, then you check V1 to V4. If they have ST elevations, you can again say, sir, this looks like an anterior wall MI. If those two things are normal and the ECG looks a little difficult, then maybe this could be the picture. There are deep T inversions in V1, V2, V3, V4, V5 even. Then this could be a non-ST elevation MI. If there are deep T inversions, it could be a non-ST elevation MI. It could be a N-STEMI. N-STEMI is difficult to diagnose. N-STEMI is not exactly an ECG diagnosis. It is more of a lab diagnosis. You check it by TROP-I. This ECG could be unstable angina. This ECG could be N-STEMI. This is differentiated only by the TROP-I test. So what will you do if you get this ECG? You will get a TROP-I done. If it is positive, then it is anterior wall MI, anterior wall N-STEMI, and then you will see if you need to get that surgery done or not. Let's go a step further. So this is deep inverted T waves. This looks like N-STEMI. So you checked for ST elevations. You checked for ST elevations in lead 2-3 AVF. That were normal. Then you checked for ST elevations in V1 to V4. That was also normal. Then you thought maybe there might be T inversions. If you found T inversions, then it looks more like N-STEMI. If you didn't find T inversions and you found tall T waves, hyperacute T waves, then again it could be two things. The examiner might be leading you to either a hyperacute MI or a hyperkalemia picture. Again, the diagnosis will be fluctuating between these two things. Either it could be a hyperacute, that is ongoing anterior wall MI, or it could be plain simple hyperkalemia. A tip to diagnose: the hyperkalemia T waves are very pointed. You cannot sit on them, they will pinch you. And hyperacute T waves of hyperkalemia are usually taller than their QRSS. Not specific, but still a clue to diagnosis. Hyperkalemia T waves are not broad. They are very pinchy kind of T waves. So tall T waves could be hyperkalemia or acute developing MI. If you are still surviving your Viva till then your examiner might be very happy with you and he might put up some other ECGs in front of you. Again, you don't need to know them. If you know them, it is well and good. If you can just go with the first 20-25 minutes of this lecture, then also I can guarantee you mostly you will clear the ECG Viva. But still, if you want to go further, then let's do it in 2 to 3 minutes, not more than that. So this ECG, what it is showing is, put it in the chat box, and now I am bored of speaking. Type it in the chat box. What is this? What is this? What are you seeing here? What is this? This is a what? Write down, write down, write down. No A, no B. This is what? This is a delta wave. This is a delta wave. This could be what? This could be hypothermia. This could be WPW, and I don't know what. All kind of things. Early what? Pre-excitation syndrome. Right. So this is delta wave. If you got up to here, then you are lucky. You have already scored like 50-60% marks. Now you are going towards 80. What is this? Write it down, write it down, write it down. Now I want to locate the toppers. This is what? This is M pattern in lead V1, V2. M pattern in lead V1, V2 is indicative of right bundle branch block, RBBB. You get an ECG of RBBB, you diagnose it by M pattern in V1, V2, you are good. M pattern in V1, V2 is RBBB. If this M pattern is more towards V5, V6 and there is a W in V1, V2, then it is LBBB. LBBB looks very dreadful. all leads, they look the same. They are all broad. It looks like VT, but it is not VT. It is a slow rate, like 100 का rate चल रहा है. And LVBB is slow, broad, and W in V6, and W in V1, V2, M in V5, V6. So these were the ECGs that could mostly make or break your anesthesia exam. Just to summarize, we'll look at the ECG in 3 steps. We'll see the rate and rhythm. There are 6 possibilities. We have learned that. We'll diagnose if it is a particular arrhythmia. If it is one, we'll diagnose, we'll tell them what the treatment is. Oh, I didn't tell you the treatment of conduction blocks. If it is complete heart block, atropine won't work. If it is second degree heart block, especially second degree type 2, atropine won't work. You can say that I'll give atropine, but then atropine doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Because the nerve supply of AV node beyond a certain point doesn't go by parasympathetic. So your parasympathetic nervous system acts only up to a certain part of AV node, the upper part of AV node. So atropine works maybe in sinus bradycardia, maybe in first degree heart block, maybe in a little lower kind of this AV blocks. But deep AV blocks, they don't respond to atropine. Third degree heart block does not respond to atropine. Maybe till you have a temporary pacemaker. The definitive treatment is TPI and PPI. But till you have a pacemaker, you can try transcutaneous pacing and you can try epinephrine or dopamine infusions. So 6 possibilities of rate and rhythm we checked. Then we checked if the patient has an MI. We checked to lead 2-3 AVF. If it was not there, then we checked to lead V1 to V4. If there was not there, then we checked for deep T wave inversions for anastomie. If that was not there, then we checked for hyperacute T waves. If he was not looking for any of these things in your exam ECG, then maybe he wants to give you something beyond that. Then we saw the gold medal things like M and W and delta. So the lecture ends here. The lecture is finished. I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed it. And I guess that's it. But the exam is not over. I haven't tested you. I haven't tested how much you have learned. So now we'll go more or less live. You will write the answers. I will put up some ECGs and you will write the answers as I want them. But don't write diagnosis. Diagnosis won't work here. You have to write it is fast, broad, regular and VT. Or it is fast, broad, irregular and VF. Or it is narrow, fast and regular SVT. So let's go do that. The first ECG, exhibit A, is in front of you. You are given 20 seconds. You have to write down A dash. Don't write full fast, write F will do. Fast, broad and regular, it is a ventricular tachycardia. It will be treated by, if it is pulseless, then shock. If it is with pulse, then something else. Good. So you have done good. Next ECG in front of you. This is what? This is what? This is, write down in the chat boxes. B is dash. F for fast or S for slow, B or N for broad or narrow, R or I for regular and irregular. Make your own mnemonics as you want, but write down the answer. This is what? Write down. I'll wait. So B is fast, narrow, regular. SVT is usually very fast, more than 200. Narrow and regular, obviously. No P waves present. SVT is fast, narrow, regular. It is SVT. It has to be treated by adenosine 6 mg. Doesn't respond, second dose. Then maybe shock. This is a little different than what I taught you. This is what? This is narrow but not fast. This is not fast, this is normal rate. You know the diagnosis, I know that you know. This is narrow, normal rate and regular. But there are multiple P waves. If you remember the word sawtooth appearance somewhere from your ECG books, then this is the sawtooth appearance. This is atrial flutter. If you can see, this QRS complexes are interspersed with P waves which are multiple. Each QRS complex has 2 to 3 P waves, right? So this is atrial flutter, narrow, regular and normal rate. Next ECG. This is not about the rhythm. Sometimes all they ask you is to diagnose an ectopic. E is for ectopic. So this is what? This is an abnormal beat coming into an otherwise normal sinus rhythm ECG. Some ECGs in the exams are put like this. This is an ectopic, and believe me, if you can diagnose an ectopic, then it is ventricular ectopic, not an atrial one. If you can diagnose it right away, then it is atrial ectopic, ventricular ectopic or a VPC. This is a premature ventricular beat or VPC or ventricular ectopic. This is to be treated if it occurs much more than normal rate. First thing. Secondly, if they put up an ectopic, they will ask for a cause. What could be the cause of an ectopic? Then you have to remember your 5H and 5Ts, or as we say in this CCLS, we call it hit the target mnemonic. Yesterday's Rakesh Garg sir's lecture, it is hit the target. Just remember the causes of ectopics. It could be hypoxia, it could be ischemia, it could be other things also. So if you are put up an ECG of ectopic, you will be asked what could be the causes of ectopic. If the ectopics are benign, if they are not causing any hemodynamic upheaval, then they don't need to be treated. Let's go further. This is ventricular ectopic. This is what? Look at it. This is probably the second last slide, I guess. This is fast, narrow, irregular. Fast, narrow, irregular. What is it? What is fast and narrow and irregular? This is atrial fibrillation. Last one, pakka last one. This looks a little tricky to me, but if you spend some time, you will know. What is this? Is it fast or is it slow? First of all, diagnose which one is the QRS complex. Which one is the QRS complex? The QRS complexes are here. Now, is it fast or is it slow? It is. Write down. Is it fast or is it slow? It is slow. Is it broad or narrow? It doesn't matter, but this one is narrow. Is it regular or irregular? You can see all the four circles are at the equal interval. At an equal interval, this is slow, regular, bradycardia. This is complete heart blocks. This complete heart block. The small pins you are seeing in between the QRS complexes, the extra ones, they are the P waves. The sinus rate is approximately 120 or something, but the QRS complexes are very slow. So this is slow, regular, bradycardia. This is complete heart block. Complete heart block is also called as third degree heart block or AV dissociation. So this was the last slide. If you liked this lecture, then please write happy in your chat box. If you liked our PG assembly, if you like this whole program, just stay for the valedictory function and we'll start it in a minute. Please be there, please speak up your mind, please speak up if we need to change something for your future batches. Please tell us if we need to improve upon something, and please tell us how it affected your exam preparation. So we'll be waiting for you on the other side. Thank you very much. Again, I will sincerely thank the seniors, the Indore ISA team and the ISA National team to provide us with this opportunity of PG assembly and to provide me with this lecture to interact with you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.